Hi everyone. This is a summary of The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, based on my understanding. Spoiler alert. Major spoilers ahead. Link to the book is in the description. Millie came from prison, and she is struggling. She got fired from her waitressing job and is now living in her car. She applied as a housemaid and was interviewed by Nina Winchester. She wanted the job, but wasn't confident that such a fancy family would want to hire her, but to her surprise and delight, Nina called and hired her. She started working for Nina. Nina has a daughter and a good-looking husband named Andrew. As much as possible, Millie tries to stay low-key because she noticed that Nina could get jealous. Millie's room is very small and was actually the first thing that worried her. It has no windows, and the lock is on the outside. It would be easy for someone to lock her in. When she asked Nina about it, Nina said the room was for brooms or used to be a stockroom, so it made sense that the lock was outside. Her job was okay, but it was Nina who made it difficult. She tended to confuse things and blame Millie. Sometimes Millie wondered what Andrew saw in Nina. Andrew is very good-looking, while Nina has been gaining weight. However, Millie could see that Nina and Andrew were affectionate with each other. Nina sometimes gave Millie confusing instructions, and she got blamed most of the time. Nina and Andrew were trying to get pregnant, but Nina came home crying from a checkup when they found out she could no longer conceive. They already had a daughter, but she wasn't Andrew's biological child. Nina already had a baby before they started dating. To cheer her up, Andrew asked Millie to book show tickets and hotel accommodations. Millie was supportive and did what she was told. She asked Nina for her availability, and Nina told her. However, when the date of the show came close, it turned out the dates were wrong. Nina was angry at Millie for getting the dates mixed up, and Millie was confused and afraid because she was sure she followed Nina's instructions. She wondered why Nina always seemed to mix up details and then blame her. The date Millie booked turned out to be the day Nina was taking her daughter to camp. It was quite expensive, and Nina said that if the ticket couldn't be refunded, Millie would have to pay for it out of her salary. Millie was surprised and disappointed, as she didn't want that to happen. Andrew heard their commotion and stepped in. He said he would call his credit card company about the charge. On the day of the show, Nina and her daughter went on their way, so it was just Andrew and Millie at home. Andrew told Millie that the bank didn't refund the charge, but he didn't tell Nina. Millie was so grateful. Andrew suggested that since the ticket was still valid, she should use it instead, maybe invite a friend and go see the show. But Millie didn't have any friends, so Andrew decided he would take her. They went to the show. Millie wore some of the clothes that Nina had given her while decluttering. During the drive, she noticed Andrew's eyes fall on her legs. After the show, they had dinner and wine. They talked and got a bit too drunk, so they decided it wasn't safe to go home. They shared a hotel room and slept together. The next day, they had to go home. While driving, Millie suddenly remembered that she forgot to take out the trash. Nina had specifically reminded her last night, and she panicked. Andrew helped her out and said he would take care of it. When they arrived home, they saw the gardener and realized he drove a truck, so Andrew gave him money to take the trash away. They carried on as normal until Nina arrived, and she didn't seem to suspect anything. However, she eventually started dropping hints. She said she called the landline the night before, but no one answered. Also, in Millie's room were the tickets, and once when she came back, she noticed they were out of her bag. Did that mean Nina had been checking? Nina had now grown suspicious, and Millie was aware of it, but she didn't want to risk angering Nina or getting fired because she had nowhere else to go. One night, Millie went downstairs and saw Andrew alone. They hadn't talked about what happened since Nina got back. They talked and kissed, thinking Nina was already asleep. As Millie was about to go back up to her room, she saw a shadow. It was Nina. Millie wasn't sure what Nina saw and simply said she was there to get water. Nina was standing quite far, so Millie couldn't tell how much she knew. Nina kept asking questions until Andrew showed up. There was a commotion, and Andrew ended up announcing that he wanted to separate from Nina. Nina was shocked and angry. Millie was surprised too. Andrew was now making the decision to kick Nina out, to let her leave, and to choose Millie. Nina insisted Andrew couldn't do that since they were married and had a daughter. But Andrew clarified that he never legally adopted her daughter, so he had no legal responsibility. The house was also still his, as they had agreed before marriage. Nina had no choice but to pack her bags and leave. Millie stood there, witnessing it all as Nina began to pack. Millie felt relieved that Nina was finally gone, that Andrew chose her, that she was going to have a better life now that she was with him. But she was wrong because it was all part of Nina's plan. Nina and Andrew met at work. Andrew was the boss of Nina's boss. He saw how horribly her boss treated her, and he tried to make her feel better. He invited her to lunch, and they started going out. Nina had just had a baby at the time, but Andrew didn't mind. Nina thought Andrew was perfect, wealthy, handsome, kind, and loving. She thought she got lucky, but she was wrong. Andrew punished her. For example, when she forgot to go to the salon, he locked her in that small room, now Millie's room. The lock was there for a reason, to imprison her. As punishment, he made her pluck hairs from her scalp. It happened many times, for every little mistake Nina made. Nina tried to get away, but Andrew was always one step ahead. He also made sure Nina couldn't get help from the police. He once framed her as having mental problems by staging an incident where it looked like she tried to drown her own daughter in the tub. Andrew set it up. Because of that, Nina now has a record of mental instability, which means people rarely believe her. Nina once tried to share her struggles with a friend, the mother of her daughter's classmate. She felt relieved to finally open up and thought someone understood her. But it turned out that friend had secretly called Andrew during their conversation and informed him of what Nina was saying. Andrew had warned Nina's friends about her and asked them to report anything concerning she might say. Her friend apologized, claiming she was just looking out for her, but that day Nina learned she couldn't trust anyone. Andrew had control over everyone in her life. Since she couldn't escape and couldn't kill Andrew, because he had prepared a letter to be sent to his lawyers blaming Nina in case of his death, Nina realized her only option was to shift Andrew's attention to someone else. Someone new. Someone who could take her place. That's why she chose Millie. Millie was attractive. Nina even secretly gained weight to make herself appear less appealing next to Millie. She blackmailed her fertility doctor, who was cheating on his wife, into telling them she couldn't get pregnant. She also humiliated Millie, knowing Andrew liked stepping in and playing the hero, rescuing someone. That was exactly how it started with Nina back when they met at work. And Nina's plan worked. She was now free, and Andrew was now Millie's problem. After Nina left, Enzo started helping her. Enzo was their gardener, and he was good-looking. Nina's friends loved looking at him. He helped Nina escape and gave her a place to stay. Nina and Enzo also had sex. It seemed like they were starting something good. However, Enzo was uncomfortable with the fact that they left Millie behind. He felt it was wrong to put another woman in danger. He convinced Nina to save Millie. Enzo had been checking the cars and noticed that Millie hadn't gone out for days. Eventually, Nina felt guilty and decided to go back for her. When Nina returned to the house, no one was there. She called their names, but there was no answer. She had a bad feeling, so she went to the small room where Andrew used to imprison her. It was locked from the outside. She tried to open it, and inside, she saw Andrew's corpse. Blood was all over him, and it looked like he had pulled out his teeth. He had been dead for days. Nina searched for Millie and found her. Millie was angry at her. She realized that it was Nina who brought her into all of this. But more than anything, Millie was scared. She had been in prison before, and if she went back, it would be really bad for her. Nina told Millie to leave, that she would handle it. Millie left without a trace. Nina then called the police and claimed she didn't know Andrew had locked himself in, that she thought he was just on a trip. The police arrived, and the lead officer spoke to her. To Nina's surprise and relief, he seemed to believe her story. Later, she found out that the lead officer was the father of Catherine, Andrew's ex-fiancée. Nina had once tried to look Catherine up but found no information because she was curious. The officer didn't share much, but said he had looked into Andrew himself because of his daughter. Nina prepared for the funeral. No one suspected anything, not even Andrew's parents. Now, Nina and Millie were both free. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the summary of The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. If you liked it, the link to purchase the book is in my bio. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other book summaries too. See you in the next one.